Just when you thought the United States Armed Forces, this is not a slight, by the way, against the service men and women that are out there doing a great job, but just when you didn't think that the ruling class, the armed forces, couldn't get any more fucking embarrassing, well, the U.S. Navy launches a ship named after gay rights leader Harvey Milk. Yeah, I guess it kind of makes, for a good saying, the milkman delivers, but Harvey Milk is nobody that you should be immortalizing, and everybody fucking knows it, and it's something I'm going to bring up as well. But, oh yeah, he's the gay rights icon. You can't criticize him. Oh, you fucking bet we will. A U.S. Navy ship carrying the name of slain gay rights leader Harvey Milk was formally christened and launched. What was it christened with exactly? We need not get too terribly vulgar. We're just seconds into this. Launched Saturday in San Diego Bay in front of all the sailors. Hi, guys! AP reports the replenishment oiler USNS Harvey Milk was welcomed into service, yes, with gaping assholes. We're over a minute in, I hope, after a bottle of champagne was smashed on the bow. What was it was a bottle. It was full of something a bubbly and smelled like the ocean. We'll just leave it at that. Smashed on the bow of a former Navy officer, Paula M. Nira. Oh, bye a girl. Ew. They got cooties. Clinical program director for the Johns Hopkins Center for Transgender Health. Oh, girl. Okay. Milk's nephew, yeah, obviously not his son, Stuart Milk, and U.S. Navy Secretary Carlos del Toro joined the traditional public ceremony. Nothing traditional was about this. Actually, if you got a glimpse of the ceremony itself, all of the people that were in attendance you know how they'd normally be in the audience, they'd have a couple of speakers come up to the front, but when they panned around to the audience, they noticed something odd about the chairs. They were all flipped upside down. The Secretary of the Navy needed to be here today, not just to amend the wrongs of the past. Why is that? Why would you capitulate to these fucking weirdos? Not to just amend the wrongs of the past, but to give inspiration to all of our LGBTQ community leaders. You're forgetting some letters, you fucking bigot, who served in the Navy. Alright, yeah. Trust me, we've known that there have been gays in the Navy. Have you seen the Village People? In uniform today, and the civilian workforce as well, and to tell them that we're committed to them in the future. Yes, you can all serve on the milk, boys! We know you're used to white creamy substances. As Breitbart News reported, former U.S. Navy Secretary Ray Mabus, first publicly notified his intent to put Milk's name on the military sea lift. Oh, okay, cool. Command Fleet Oiler back in 2016. Trump was like, none of that shit on my watch. Mabius decided 6 new feature oilers would be named after civil and human rights leaders. Fuck off. In addition to Milk, that includes Sojourner Truth, Chief Justice Earl Warren, Robert F. Kennedy. Oh, okay, cool. The fucking dead meth head. Suffragist Lucy Stone. Ugh. And racist John Lewis. Like I said, not a slight against the servicemen and women that are out there, but I hope all of those ships sink. Stuart Milk, co-founder and president of the Harvey Milk Foundation, thanked Mabus for providing his family, the family details of the uncle's discharge from the Navy. Ew. Oh no, sorry, when he left the Navy. He has a less than honorable discharge. I wonder why. He was forced to resign because he was gay. I'm sure that was the only reason why he was removed from the Navy. Stuart Milk said, adding that we have to teach our history to prevent ourselves from going backwards and repeating it. Funny you should bring that up. Jim Jones. You know who Jim Jones is. He was the leader of Jonestown and committed that horrible massacre, and he was helped out by Harvey Milk. Yeah, see, if we don't learn about history, we're doomed to repeat it. And I bring this up on a consistent basis, especially whenever you talk about Nancy Pelosi and the dirty Democrats from California, because they were fundamental in helping out Jim Jones and the Jonestown massacre that were there. And I will never let this fucking die, because I think it's important to know about history. This is a long article. I will link to it in the description. We're not going to read all of it, but just enough to give you a good glimpse into what a good and honorable man Harvey Milk is, and it's definitely not being, or his sexual orientation is definitely not being used to propagandize his importance in the political realm. Next month marks the 40th anniversary. I don't know when this was published. 2018, yeah, so the 42nd anniversary, longer than Milk was alive, I think, of two landmark events in American popular culture: the assassination of pioneering gay politician Harvey Milk and the mass suicide of 900 members of the People's Temple cult. Oh, God, that sucks. If you remember anything about the mass suicide, it's probably that cult leader Jim Jones was a fundamentalist Christian demon, oh my God, whose Bible-thumping berated brainwashed followers into drinking cyanide-laced kool-aid with a very weird speaking pattern where it kind of sounds like a sedated Dusty Rhodes. Harvey Milk, by contrast, is a folk hero. Yeah, to those who are not in the know. The San Francisco supervisor became a gay rights saint because he was martyred by a right-wing fanatic. Sure. I'd imagine if enough people go back through history, it is probably definitely not a false flag event. I don't want to, go ahead and say that, but if we put it out in the ether, somebody will go out there and find that out. That's the received history in both cases, but according to author Daniel Flynn, it's scarcely truth at all, but rather propaganda. Oh, well, it looks like somebody already beat me to it. And the way history remembers these men and the time and place that made them offers a dire warning for us today. Flynn's new book, Cult City, Jim Jones, Harvey Milk, and the 10 Days That Shook San Francisco. Not hard enough, unfortunately. Why couldn't it have been like a baby in a dryer? Is a bold and at times shocking work of revisionist history that challenges what we think we know about both men and murderous events that brought them to national prominence. Flynn reveals that Jones was in fact a socialist fanatic who, far from the theology and cultural fringes, was a key player in the left-wing San Francisco politics. No! Flynn also shows that Milk was an opportunist and a showboater who was willing to use extremist rhetoric and, in one case, indulge in outing to advance his political career. Oh my God! His assassin was not a homicidal homophobe, but a hot-headed former political ally furious over Milk's political betrayal. No, you don't say. Oh my God. And, most bizarrely of all, Milk and Jones were friends and allies. Yeah. Along with Pelosi and former Governor Jerry Brown and a lot of other people that were down there in San Francisco and in the State House of California. We'll go into that more because I love the topic. And then a mass suicidal cult, a whole bunch of Democrats. Seems to go hand in hand now, doesn't it? So here we have a little back and forth, obviously. So I was shocked to discover that Jim Jones and Harvey Milk were allies of the politics of 1970s San Francisco. Before we can get into the details of the alliance, what does the fact that it existed have to do with the title of your book, Cult City? According to the author, Daniel Flynn, San Francisco suffered through the hangover after the high. Following the Dayglow 1960s exemplified by the Summer of Love, Haight-Ashbury, and Golden Gate's Park's Humans Be In. I don't know what any of that hippie shit is, nor do I care. No, I know what some of it is, but not Golden Gate Park's Human Be-In. That sounds awful and terrible and very smelly. Became a very dark place. The Zodiac Killer taunted the cops, and now he's elected to Senate from Texas. The Zebra murders racially targeting white people. You never hear about that, now do you? The terrorism of the New World Liberation Front, leading to the bombing placed on Dianne Feinstein's windowsill. Oh yeah, she was also a part of the California Six, by the way. Among other frightening acts, Symbionese Liberation Army's kidnapping of Patty Hearst, and so much else made a beautiful city ugly. Political crazies and just plain crazies intermingled with a little to differentiate the two. This work was the ideal milieu for Jim Jones and People's Temple. It fit in with the time and place and even stands out to us 40 years later. The Temple's politicized theology really grabbed Harvey Milk, a man heretofore largely indifferent to faith. No, you don't say. Jim Jones promoted gay rights, which appealed to Harvey Milk. Really? Beyond this, he provided his campaign volunteers a printing press and publicly through his widely distributed newspaper. When Milk organized a fair on Castro Street, People's Temple provided professional-level entertainers. When his lover committed suicide, Temple members sent dozens of condolence letters inviting Milk to visit them, even live in Jonestown. Milk clearly found his association with Jim Jones exhilarating. It may take me a day to come back down from the high that I reached today, he wrote Jim Jones after one temple service. I was sorry that I had to leave after 4 short hours. I found something dear today. I found a sense of being that makes up for all the hours and energy placed in a flight. I found what you wanted me to find. I shall be back, for I can never leave. Talking about the wonders that he experienced at Jonestown. Isn't that adorable? In exchange for all of that, Milk provided legitimacy to Jim Jones. He spoke at People's Temple. He praised it in his column in the Bay Area Reporter. He lobbied on Jones's behalf for to President Jimmy Carter, Secretary of Health and Education and Welfare, Joseph Califano, Guyanese Prime Minister Forbes Burnham, and other powerful figures. As Cult City shows, this proved disastrous for many people. Jumping ahead a little bit, the received story about Harvey Milk that is in the that he is a secular saint. In fact, as you show, he was sexually involved with underage boys. No! Oh my god. Again, they also named a fucking military cruiser after this fucking creep. And he was willing to use slanderous, extremist rhetoric against his opponents, even other gay people. What, 2 queens fighting? You don't say. Why have these facts been shoved down the memory hole? I wonder why. It had a Sean Penn-led documentary, pseudo-documentary. His name is emblazoned and immortalized on a Navy vessel, and this was even back in 2018. All this shit was getting written about. That's amazing. When a supporter discovered that Milk had fabricated a tale of dishonorable discharge from the Navy, fuck! God, no! Only in San Francisco would a politician lie about his honorable service to enhance credibility. Milk responded, symbols. No shit. In death, Milk the man, I'd rather not, I don't like AIDS, became Milk the myth, a human symbol of something greater than himself. Men are complicated. Myths, not so much. They need to be neat and pure. Gays understandably tried to make sense of the senseless act. Rather than the petty man seeking murderous redress for petty grievances, the assassination of Harvey Milk became an act of homophobia, and its victim a martyr for the gay rights movement. Of course, if you can't be a success in life, be one in death. Part of the mythology involves creating a caricature of Dan White and his motives. And I discovered about Milk's assassination, Milk's assassin, from interviewing people close to him, really floored me. I will leave all of that for the book. Of course, you're going to read the book, but this is enough testimony, at least for me. The other part of the equation is that the mythologizing involves transforming Harvey Milk, who authored one single city ordinance, sensibly ordering dog owners to clean up their mess their pets leave. What a nanny. In his 11 months in office as a colossal figure and a secular saint. No shit. Saints require saintlessness. All right. Harvey Milk acted as a great friend, demonstrated a terrific sense of humor, exhibited an amazing penchant for a reinvention, and tenaciously served the causes in which he believed. He was not a saint. His biggest critics were not right-wingers. John Briggs, a retired California politician best known for an anti-right gay bill, clearly conveyed to me in our conversations how much he enjoyed Milk's company. No. But gay men, several of whom spoke to me for the book, other gay men jealously guard Milk's legacy. One refused to answer my questions, but instead began asking me questions about my book. There's a bowdlerized quality to the book, to the books on Harvey Milk. I hope this book helps to change that. Affirmative action history is varying standards for people according to identity politics. Isn't history, it's propaganda. My aim is to make Milk into a monster. Oh, is not to make milk into a monster, but a man. Men are flawed. People who choose to worship a man find this hard to accept. And then just a little bit about Jim Jones, because, hey, we got to tie this all back together now, don't we? Jim Jones has largely been forgotten today, but I think it matters that people today, if they think of him at all, remember him as a lone cult crazy, like a predecessor of David Koresh or a Warren Jeffs. In fact, before he exiled himself and his congregation to Guyana, he was a mainstream left-wing figure of his time and place. Yeah, ain't that a bitch? Why has our historical memory been falsified? Well, it's just a little bit of an uncomfortable truth about the Democratic Party. Jim Jones has held private meetings with Jimmy Carter's running mate, Walter Mondale, and his wife, Rosalind Carter. No shit! During the 76 presidential campaign, San Francisco Mayor George Moscone, appointed him chairman of the city's Housing Committee Authority, effectively making him the city's largest landlord. Scary to think how he treated his tenants in Guyana. Another story for another day. Jane Fonda, Huey Newton, Angela Davis, and others heaped praise upon him. Jane Fonda's always been on the wrong side of every single political issue that there's ever fucking been. That's why she's such a big stump for Joe Biden. Willie Brown compared him to Martin Luther King and Mahatma Gandhi. Yeah, he was also probably getting his fucking crank tooted on by a future vice president. Anyways, probably not at that time, because I think that she was only like 16 or something like that. And Willie Brown is many things, but not a creep like Harvey Milk. Jones was very much in with the in crowd. He orchestrated the murders of more than 900 people. At this point, the evangelical atheist and committed communist morphed into a power-hungry fascist, like all communists. In the words of Walter Cronkite, and his followers became religious zealots, in the words of the Associated Press. Skipping ahead a little bit, when one thinks of weak but frequent attempts to link mass murders to political figures without any evidence, one thinks about the lame gambit to tie Tucson mass murderer Jared Lee Loughner to Sarah Palin and the Tea Party, the disassociation of Jim Jones for the very real friendships and alliances he forged with San Francisco Democratic elites astounds. He was so close to Supervisor Harvey Milk, future San Francisco mayors Willie Brown and Art Andros, and California Lieutenant Governor Mervyn Dillamy, who actually made a pilgrimage to Jonestown and colored himself impressed. Yep. On the other hand, in fact, so many journalists had skin in the game helps explain why, after providing laudatory coverage of Jones during his life, they danced around the subject of his famous friends and fashionable causes after his death. The journalists have compromised themselves. As true in the 70s as it was in 2018, as it is in 2021. Hope that paints a little bit more of a complete picture as to the association between Jim Jones and the Jonestown massacres and San Francisco Democratic politicians, and then also, by proxy, Harvey Milk, who will now sail the seas once again, boys. Probably aren't going to be getting that uncomfortable history lesson from any mainstream media, so glad to help on that one. With that said, I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.